Hello, this is your Algerian teacher and welcome to Grow the Branches channel. Today we're going to revise word stress in English. Before defining what stress is, just listen to the first syllable of the following words. Father, open, camera. You can clearly hear the stress on the first syllable. I repeat, father, open, camera. Now listen to the following words. Can you tell where the stress is? Potato, apartment, relation. It is clear that the middle syllable is stressed. Listen again. Potato, apartment, relation. Now pay attention to the final syllable. About, receive, perhaps. The final syllable is stressed. I repeat. About, receive, perhaps. Listen and repeat all these words and try to apply stress in your pronunciation. Father, open, camera, potato, apartment, relation, about, receive, perhaps. We mark a stressed syllable in transcription by placing a small vertical line high up, just before the syllable it relates to. The words quoted above will thus be transcribed as follows. Father, open, camera, potato, apartment, relation, about, receive, perhaps. The production of stress is generally believed to depend on the speaker using more muscular energy than is used for unstressed syllables. When we produce stressed syllables, the muscles that we use to expel air from the lungs are often more active, producing higher subglottal pressure. From the perceptual point of view, all stressed syllables have one characteristic in common, and that is prominence, which means distinction. Stressed syllables are recognized as stressed because they are more prominent than unstressed syllables. Prominence. Stressed syllables are more prominent or more noticeable than unstressed syllables when speaking. For example, the word father has two syllables, fa and the word apartment has three syllables, first syllable, part, second syllable, and ment, the third and final one. Also, the word perhaps has two syllables, p, the first one, and haps, the second syllable. However, if you listen carefully, the first syllable in father, the second syllable in apartment, and the last syllable in perhaps are pronounced in a more prominent or a more noticeable way than the other syllables. They are produced with much force. In pronunciation, when one word has one syllable which is more prominent than the others, that prominent syllable is called a stressed syllable. What makes a syllable prominent? Generally speaking, three different factors can make a syllable more prominent. In order to produce stress, you can use either loudness, length, or pitch. Number 1. Loudness is a component of prominence. In a sequence of identical syllables, if one syllable is made louder than the others, it will be heard as stressed. For example, let's imagine that there is this word, ba, 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 ba. Here we have 4 identical syllables. If I decide to stress the second syllable, I can make it more prominent and more distinguished than the others with loudness. Ba, 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 ba. Can you hear the difference? Number 2. Length. If one of the syllables in our nonsense word, ba, 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 is made longer than the others, there is stress. Ba, 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 ba. I have stressed the second syllable with length. Number 3. Pitch. Pitch in speech is closely related to the frequency of vibration of the vocal folds and to the musical notion of low and high-pitched notes. It is essentially a perceptual characteristic of speech. To place some movement of pitch, for example rising or falling, on a syllable is even more effective in making it sound prominent. For example, ba, 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 ba. I have used a higher pitch for the second ba in order to make it more prominent and more different than the others. So, how can you stress a syllable in a word? You can make a syllable louder, longer, or high-pitched. It doesn't matter which one you choose. It's up to you to decide whether you use 1, 2, or 3 at the same time. What matters most is that you use them. What is stress? In English, we do not say each syllable with the same force or strength. In one word, we accentuate one syllable. We say one syllable very loudly, big, strong, important, and all the other syllables very quietly. Let's take three words: photograph, photographer, and photographic. Do they sound the same when spoken? No, because we accentuate stress, one syllable in each word. And it is not always the same syllable, so the shape of each word is different. Stress is a suprasegmental feature of utterances. It applies not to individual vowels and consonants, but to whole syllables. We do not stress one vowel or one consonant only, but the whole syllable, whether it contains one sound or more. A stressed syllable is pronounced with a greater amount of energy than an unstressed syllable and is more prominent in the flow of speech. Every language has its own rhythm, and stress greatly influences rhythm. In terms of pronunciation and rhythm, languages can be stress-timed languages, syllable-timed languages, and tonal languages. Stress-timed languages are languages in which stress is important to distinguish meaning and grammar. In one word, one syllable is more prominent than the others are, like English, Arabic, and German. Syllable-timed languages are languages in which stress does not change the grammar or meaning of the word. For example, in syllable-timed languages, in one word all syllables have the same time, such as French and other Latin languages. However, for example, in French words, you might hear the last syllable often lengthened, but it doesn't change the meaning or the grammar of the word in the same way it does in English. There are also tonal languages in Asia such as Chinese, Thai, Vietnamese, Punjabi, and in Africa such as Yoruba, Zulu, and so on. We shall deal with tone and intonation in another video. But briefly speaking, a tonal or tone language is a language in which words can differ in tones, like pitches in music, in addition to consonants and vowels. Variations in the use of stress cause different languages to have different rhythms, but stress is only one factor in causing rhythmic differences. Now that we know what stress is and how it can be conveyed or realized through loudness, length, and pitch, let us see how a change in stress can lead to a change in grammar or in meaning. How can we know which syllables to stress in an English word? Placement of stress. The following summary of ideas on stress placement in nouns, verbs, prepositions, and adjectives is an attempt to present a few rules in the simplest possible form. But practically all the rules have exceptions, and readers might feel that the rules are so complex that it would be easier to go back to the idea of learning the stress for each word individually. In order to decide on stress placement, it is necessary to make use of some or all of the following information, whether the word is morphologically simple or whether it is complex as a result either of containing one or more affixes or of being a compound word. What the grammatical category of the word is it a noun, a verb, adjective? It matters. How many syllables the word has? What the phonological structure of those syllables is. Stress placement. Before we start stress placement, you need to remember that a syllable that contains the schwa is never stressed. The sound is a vowel and it is called the schwa. Schwa means empty or lack of vowel sound. If the syllable is weak and it contains the schwa, meaning the sound that syllable is never stressed. For example, the verbs enter and open. We stress the first syllable N and O. Why? Because the second one contains the schwa, t, pn. Also, the noun police has the schwa in the first syllable, so it can't be stressed. We cannot say police, but we stress instead the second syllable with length. Police. I repeat, never stress a syllable that contains the vowel Now, let us start with the types of words in English. There are monosyllabic words. They contain one syllable, for example, I, at, she, cat. Disyllabic words, they contain two syllables, for example, begin, winter, season, again, two syllables. Polysyllabic or multisyllabic words, they include more than two syllables, for example, banana, three syllables. Establishment, four syllable. University, 5 syllables. First, monosyllabic words do not present any problems because when pronounced in isolation they receive the primary stress on their only syllable. Note that we do not show the stress of monosyllabic words, means we do not add the vertical line high up like we do with other words. When part of a sentence, monosyllabic content words are pronounced with full forms of vowels, whereas monosyllabic function words are normally pronounced with the weak forms of vowels, i.e. with a, e, or u. In a previous video, we have dealt with strong and weak forms. We have said that function words such as auxiliaries, prepositions, conjunctions, when unstressed, their vowel changes into the schwa, a, or e, or u. For more information on strong and weak forms, click on the link above to watch the video. Disyllabic words. In the case of two-syllable words, that means words that contain two syllables, either the first or the second syllable will be stressed, not both. There is a general tendency for verbs to be stressed nearer the end of a word and for nouns to be stressed nearer the beginning. We will look first at verbs. If the final syllable is weak, then the first syllable is stressed. If the final syllable is strong, then that syllable is stressed even if the first syllable is also strong. Now the main rules are as follows. Number 1. Verbs. Verbs stress the second syllable. For example, apply, arrive, attract, assist, rotate, maintain. In general, verbs having two syllables, we stress the second syllable. You can pause the video anytime for more practice. Number 2. Nouns require a different rule. Stress will fall on the first syllable unless the first syllable is weak and the second syllable is strong. Money, content, larynx, notebook, pencil, etc. In general, nouns having two syllables, we stress the first one. Now please pay attention to the difference between nouns and verbs and to the way they are pronounced. Verbs and noun. Present, present. Record, record. Transport, transport. Export, export. It is the same spelling for both nouns and verbs, but for verbs we stress the second syllable and for nouns the stress falls on the first syllable. As you can see when speaking, a change in stress might result in a difference in meaning and grammar. In those examples of two-syllable words, the spelling is the same, but we need to stress the right syllable in order to avoid misunderstanding. 3. In general, like nouns, two-syllable adjectives stress the first syllable. For example, absent, present, slender, clever, happy, etc. In addition to that, if you add the suffix ly to adjectives in order to make adverbs, stress stays in the same place. Happy, happily. Faithful, faithfully. The suffix ly that makes adverbs does not affect any change on stress placement for adjectives. Stress stays in the same place. 4. Prepositions. It is frequent, like verbs, two-syllable prepositions stress the second syllable. For example, behind, above, towards, across, before, etc. Three-syllable words. Here we find a more complicated picture. However, it is simple. Usually, if a syllable is weak, stress will be placed on the preceding one. Please look at the following shapes that represent words having three syllables in order to understand the pattern and the way it works. Number 1. If the final syllable is strong, then it will receive primary stress. For example, entertain, resurrect, correspond. Number 2. In words having three syllables, if the third and last syllable of the word contains the schwa or is weak, the stress falls on the second syllable. As you can see, the last syllables of encounter, determine, and establish are weak, so we stress the preceding syllable, the syllable which is just before. Number 3. If, however, the third and second syllables are weak, stress falls on the first one. For example, quantity, emperor, custody, intellect, insolent, etc. The above rules certainly do not cover all English words. They apply only to major categories of lexical words, nouns, verbs, and adjectives. In addition to what we have seen so far, there are other rules or constraints that help us identify where the primary stress should be placed. The main tendency is as follows. Stress on the penultimate syllable. Penultimate, second from end. It means before the last. Words that end in IC, SION, TION stress the penultimate syllable, like graphic, geographic, economic, television, revelation. Stress here is on the penultimate syllable, the one before the last one. Another rule, stress on the antepenultimate syllable. Antepenultimate, third from end. Antepenultimate means the one which is before the last. Words that end in the following suffixes stress the antepenultimate syllable. cy, ty, phy, gy, ment, ible, ise or ize if it is British or American English, ula, ious, and al. Democracy. So here the final, the ultimate syllable is C, and I have kr, which is the penultimate syllable. Since it ends with the suffix C, we stress the antepenultimate syllable. Mo. Democracy, dependability, photography, geology, development, government, critical, flexible, advertise, exercise, formula, dangerous, curious, critical, geological, and so on. For compound nouns, the stress is on the first part, blackbird, greenhouse. For compound adjectives, the stress is on the second part, bad-tempered, old-fashioned. For compound verbs, the stress is on the second part, to understand, to overflow. Other ways to find stress placement. It should be clear from what is said above that I have tried to make the rules for word stress in English brief and concise for the sake of this video and in order to make it simple. However, finding, practice and testing material for word stress is very easy though. Any modern English dictionary shows word stress pattern as part of word entries. In other words, if you're not sure about stress placement, I advise you to go to any dictionary in which you can find this vertical line that shows stress. Finally, let's practice. Try to put stress on the right syllable according to what we have seen so far. Pause the video to do the exercise. Father, apartment, perhaps. Here the word is a verb. Present. Here it is a noun. Present. Behind. Establish. Determine. Banana. Economic. Understand. Old-fashioned, theory, university, tradition, authority, dangerous, nation, explanation, privacy, pharmacy, visible, psychology. Now we come to the end of this video. That was the revision of the main characteristics of word stress in English. We have seen what stress is, how it can be realized, and where it is commonly placed. I hope you will find this video helpful to perceive stress and produce it. Thank you for watching.